Have you ever waited for the perfect moment to begin something? The perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect confidence. You tell yourself, I'll start when I'm ready. But days pass, weeks pass, sometimes even years pass, and that perfect moment never comes. Today's story is about a man who waited too long to begin, and what happened when he finally chose to start without perfect. Start without perfect. In a quiet riverside town, where mornings were slow and evenings smelled of warm bread, there lived a young man named Ethan. Ethan was known as a thinker. Not a builder, not a doer, a thinker. He had ideas, beautiful, detailed, brilliant ideas. He wanted to build a small workshop where he could create wooden toys for children. Toys that would last for years. Toys that would bring joy. In his mind, the workshop already existed. The shelves were full. The tools were arranged perfectly. The toys were polished and flawless. People would come from other towns to buy them. Children would smile. Ethan could see it all. But there was one problem. He had never started. Every morning, Ethan sat by his window with a notebook. He drew plans. He listed tools he would need. He calculated costs. He redesigned everything again and again. This must be perfect, he would say to himself. If I start wrong, I will fail. So he waited. One day, his neighbor, a cheerful woman named Clara, stopped by. She saw the pages scattered across his table. These are beautiful, she said. When will you begin? Ethan smiled nervously. Soon. Clara tilted her head. You said that last year. I just need a little more time, Ethan replied. Everything must be right. Clara looked at him gently. Sometimes, she said, waiting for perfect is just another way of staying still. But Ethan only nodded politely. He wasn't convinced. Weeks passed. Then months. Ethan's plans became more detailed, and his actions became smaller. He visited tool shops but bought nothing. He cleaned a corner of his house but never used it. He imagined success but feared mistakes. Inside him, two voices lived. One said, start now. The other said, not yet. And every time, not yet won. One afternoon, a traveling carpenter arrived in town. His name was Jonas. He set up a small stall near the market and began selling simple wooden items. Spoons, bowls, small toys. They were not perfect. Some were uneven. Some had rough edges. Some were plain. But people loved them. They bought them. They smiled. They returned the next day for more. Ethan watched from a distance. Confusion filled his mind. How? He wondered. These are not perfect. The next day, Ethan gathered his courage and approached Jonas. Your work, Ethan began carefully. It's good, but it could be better. Jonas laughed warmly. Of course it could, he said. Everything can be better. Then why sell it now? Ethan asked. Why not wait until it's perfect? Jonas looked at him with calm eyes. Because if I waited for perfect, he said, I would still be sitting at home with empty hands. Ethan frowned. But what about mistakes? Jonas picked up a wooden spoon and showed it to him. See this, he said. My first spoons were worse than this. Crooked, weak, ugly. He smiled. But I learned by making them, not by thinking about them. Ethan felt something shift inside him. But what if people judge you? He asked quietly. Jonas shrugged. Some do, some don't. But the ones who matter, they see the effort. They see the growth. He leaned closer. Perfection is not where you start, he said softly. It's something you move toward. That night, Ethan could not sleep. Jonas's words echoed in his mind. If I waited for perfect, I would still be sitting at home. Ethan looked around his room. The plants, the notes, the dreams, all untouched by reality. The next morning, something changed. For the first time, Ethan did not sit by the window to plan. He stood up. He walked to the empty corner of his house. He took a deep breath. And he began. His first attempt was not good. The wood cracked. The shape was uneven. The edges were rough. Ethan stared at it, disappointment rising in his chest. This is terrible, he whispered. For a moment he almost stopped. The old voice returned. See? You're not ready. But then another thought appeared. This is the first step. So he tried again. And again. And again. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, his hands learned what his mind could not. He made mistakes, but he fixed them. He failed, but he improved. Each piece was slightly better than the last. Not perfect, but real. One afternoon, Clara visited again. She saw small wooden toys on his table. Her eyes lit up. You started, she said. Ethan smiled, a little shy. They're not perfect, he admitted. Clara picked one up and turned it in her hands. "They don't need to be," she said. "They're yours." Encouraged, Ethan decided to do something that once felt impossible. He took a few of his creations to the market. He placed them beside Jonas's stall. His hands trembled. His heart raced. What if no one buys them? He thought. What if they laugh? For a long time, nothing happened. People walked past. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Then a small child stopped. She picked up a wooden toy. She smiled. "Can I have this?" she asked her mother. Her mother nodded. Ethan blinked in surprise. His first sale. It was not a grand moment. No applause. No crowd. Just one small smile. But to Ethan, it meant everything. Weeks passed. Then months. Ethan kept working. Kept improving. Kept showing up. His toys became smoother. Stronger. More beautiful. People began to recognize his work. Not because it was perfect, but because it was honest. One evening, Ethan sat outside his home watching the sunset. Clara joined him. "You look different," she said. Ethan smiled. "I feel different." He paused. "I used to think I needed everything to be perfect before I started," he said. "And now?" Clara asked. Ethan looked at his hands. "They're still learning," he said. "But they're not empty anymore." Years later, Ethan's workshop became exactly what he once imagined. Full of tools. Full of creations. Full of life. But when people asked him how he built it, he never spoke about perfect plans. He simply said, "I started before I was ready." My friend, how many dreams are waiting inside you right now? Not because you cannot do them, but because you are waiting for the perfect moment? Here is the truth. Perfect does not come first. Action does. Clarity comes after movement. Confidence comes after effort. Growth comes after mistakes. So if there is something you want to begin, do not wait. Start small. Start messy. Start unsure. But start. Because a small imperfect step forward is worth more than 1,000 perfect thoughts. If this story stayed with you, take it as your sign. Begin today. And if you want more stories like this, stories that help you move, think, and grow, don't forget to subscribe and stay with us on this journey. Your path doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to begin.